for being here, for taking the time, taking your business seriously. This is one of the things that has been a big deal. I think we've done, this is what, our second, third, maybe fourth, who knows? Time is flying. I'm doing an event solely based around identifying the pillars in your business. Just recognize that this is one of the ways to truly build a foundation within your business and something that you can come back to. And I think the earlier that you can identify that, the earlier that you can master that, perfect it. I don't know if you ever perfect it, but the sooner that we can really, like I said, identify that, master it, so to speak, go all in. It's really, again, something that we can always come back to, and something that can, like I said, be a foundation for you in your business, and you can figure out ways to double down, so to speak, maximize. We're going to hear from some amazing panelists today in their respective pillars. I don't want this today to be a typical go down the line, one question, go down the line. We're going to do a couple questions like that because there's a couple things that do relate or pertain to each one of you that I want to hear from. Hopefully everybody wants to hear from. But some things are very individual, right? We're going to give you guys the floor for a little bit of time to be able to really dive in. I want to go deep on diving into really what you guys are doing. So first and foremost, thank you guys for taking the time, our panelists. Come on up here. Obviously, ladies first. Get up here, Shelly Sakala, Daniel Barraza, Database and Sphere. Come on up. Neil Brooks on open houses. Get up here, sir. And Brian Keller on door knocking. Come on up. Again, guys, as these guys get comfortable, these guys and ladies get comfortable up here, again, want to keep this interactive. If you guys have some questions, I want to open it up. Probably the last 30 minutes, kind of depending on how things go, for you guys to dive into your specific questions, okay? Like I said, want this to be interactive and might allow some space or some time along the way for some questions as well. But again, I want this to be interactive. I want you guys to be a part of this. I want us all to be a part of this. So for you guys, just kind of intro again. We don't want to tell all your flashy stats and all those kinds of things. Tell us who you are, maybe a little about yourself and what your kind of state of the union, your current state of the union. We'll start right here since you're close to me.
I'm Brian Keller. I've been selling real estate since 2012. I joined MyHomeGroup just a little over a year ago, and absolutely love it here. Happy to be here.
All right.
Daniel Barraza with the Barraza team. I'm based out of Westgate in the West Valley. I've been with my home group since 2012 when you got your license. I was licensed in 2011, came with my home group in 2012.
All right.
I'm Shelly Sakala, and I've been licensed since 2004, and with you guys, I think 4 years, going on 5 maybe.
This isn't about my home group at all. This is just about you guys, what you do. And I appreciate it. Obviously, you look like a stud, like a model in his my home group shirt, obviously.
Selling these out of the back of my bed.
He steals it out of the closet and he sells it out front.
Yeah. Was that trunk that was open?
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean,
Got red and black left.
times are tough. So.
I get it. That's how we're all here today.
I mostly work in the North Phoenix area. I mean, we'll take a job anywhere, don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Last but not least there, sir.
Oh, and I'm Neil Brooks. Been selling real estate for about 24 years now here in the Valley. I will go anywhere, wherever the commission is. And I've been with My Home Group now for, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years, something like that.
Come on.
I don't really keep track. Kelly probably knows. Maybe, no? But yeah, and I'm the open house king. So, yeah. Maybe that's a little bit, maybe I'm saying a little bit too much about myself.
Take ownership.
Yeah.
Like I said, guys, a few things that I want you all to kind of chime in on. So we are going to do the down the line thing, and then we're going to kind of mix it up a little bit. But while we're on you, Neil, talk to us about how and when, right? How and when did you identify your pillar? Open houses being one of those pillars for you.
Yeah, I think I identified my pillar the first time I realized that I think I did a mailer to a neighborhood and I spent like $200 I didn't have, and nobody responded to it. And so that's kind of when I thought, ooh, I better do something that doesn't cost me anything. So that's when I did my first open house. I thought, wow, open house would be great. And it actually turned out to be great, because the open house is actually a platform for you. It's a free platform for you to go out and mix with the community and get to know people, you know? And that's really what it's all about. It's that simple. It's a platform for you to meet people, learn your craft, and dig up business at a very affordable rate.
So before we jump into the details, right, because I want to get into all that. Like,
Yeah,
what are the mistakes
absolutely.
we learned? How do we get better at it? How do we truly maximize? Because that's what we're all up here for today.
That's right.
Is how do we maximize the revenue? How do we create some level of predictability? Okay, in our business. I know that's a challenge, right? But so how early along though? How early along did you identify? Okay, this is something that I'm going to do. I'm going to make it a pillar. I'm going to go all in. And it's going to be one of my things, so to speak.
Instantly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that was what I knew. I knew right away that that's what I was going to do, because I would have a chance to have people come into me instead of me going to them, and I would have an opportunity with every person that walked in the door to make friends. And that's really how I tried to keep it, and I still do to this day, because I still do them to this day, you guys.
I want to touch on that though, because I think if you don't have that personality where you want people to come and talk to you, it's going to be a problem. I mean, really, there's a lot of people
Neil
in
will come and
real
talk to
estate
you
that
whether
don't
you
have
want to or not.
I mean, you probably enjoy that. You hate sitting
I do.
around
I'm an
twiddling your
extrovert.
thumbs.
I'm
Yeah.
an extrovert, if you guys haven't figured that out
So
yet. But I think even for introverts, I think introverts could be successful at open houses as well. It just depends on how you want to do that. So,
One of the things we speak to a lot, I think around here that's important as we identify our pillar, as we identify our business, how do we communicate to our clients on every channel? I think one of the key words for me, for whatever it's worth, is authenticity, right? Whatever that's going to be, I think it does have to be something that's kind of who you are or what you're about or something that you like to do. Otherwise, we're going to get tired of it. We're going to get burnt out. It's just not going to feel right. It's not going to feel good, right? So clearly, we can tell you're a sociable guy, right? Probably easy. So to me, it makes sense. So is that something that you realize, okay, this is authentic to me and something I like, that
Yeah.
you enjoy?
yeah, it felt good. You know, you got to do things that feel right for you, that resonate with you as a person. And if you're more of an introverted person, there's other things that you can use to approach people, because I'm not for everybody, trust me. I mean, my wife will tell you that, not everybody. But, no, we've been married 4 years. But people,
That's why she can say that.
Yeah.
but yeah, some people, you have to learn to approach them in different ways, because if you come in, fully, like let's say you go to somebody who is more introverted and you're coming in, you're like, hey, how you doing? Hey, I'm Neil, blah, 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 blah. They instantly won't trust you. They're going to think you're some kind of a flim-flam scam man. That's pretty good, wasn't
Yeah.
I mean, it makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
it? Oh, yeah. So it really depends. It really depends.
Okay. Shelley, kind of back to the beginning of this question, how and when did you identify the pillar, for the farming in your business?
So I inherently have always liked marketing. I mean, my career before this, I worked in television. Sorry, Daniel.
It's okay.
And, did weather where I basically made shit up for 2.5 minutes. Here in Phoenix, especially.
Easy job,
So,
man.
yeah.
Set you up.
The sun's out. Now in sports.
It sets you up perfectly for real estate. But, so marketing's kind of always been second nature to me. But I will say, discovering the pillar was doing what you guys are doing right now. Kenny Klaus did something just like what we're doing right now, and he basically laid out everything that he was doing to farm a neighborhood. And I remember just taking all of these notes and going, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that, okay. And I just started, I listened to everything he said and took all of his recommendations, and I started doing it, and I swear within like 8 months I started getting calls coming in, people wanting me to list their homes. So that's really how it happened with the farming.
Again, I think with open houses, you can kind of say like this is like a social type of a thing, right? Is there something that is authentic to you about that farming approach, or maybe you didn't like another pillar where you're like, this is going to be the thing for me?
Well, it just made sense because I live in a master plan community, right? So, and my kids were young, they were in school, they, you know, I knew all these parents, and it just made sense to do that, and also nobody else was doing it,
Yeah, yeah.
which is important.
Yeah, absolutely.
When
We
you
get to all
choose an
that
area.
stuff. We're gonna get to all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff as well, right?
Yep.
So Daniel, same question for you. How and when did you identify your pillar?
So I used to be a youth director at a big Spanish church in Phoenix. So I've always known that my purpose in life is to honor God, and by honoring God, the way I do it is by honoring people, by serving people, by helping people. So when I was doing youth ministry in 2008, back in the day, when the market crashed, that's when all these foreclosure scams started happening, and a lot of people in the Hispanic community didn't speak English, and they were being defrauded just thousands and thousands of dollars. And a lot of them would come to my office, and I'd try to help them out, and I did help out many of them. And that's when I got into doing loan modifications accidentally, doing loan mods in 2008 through 2011. In 2011, I got my license to better serve the same people to do short sales. So I didn't know it was a pillar. I mean, I know now, but back then, I just wanted to serve the community and help the people that needed help during that time. So then, early in my career, when I met you guys,
Yeah.
and then I think during that time you had Russell Shaw a lot, and back then I don't know why you don't invite him anymore, but he would come to a lot of the speaking stuff, and I loved him, and I remember one time I was up there with him, and he just flat out calls me out. He's like, you're just doing business, and you have you don't record anything. You're just doing it just to do it. You're always on the defense. You're always just waiting for them to call you.
Reactive.
You're reactive,
Yeah.
but you're not doing anything. And I was like, what do you mean I am doing? I'm serving people. I was like, no, you're not. You need to handle this as a business. And at first I took offense at it, but then looking back, I know what he meant, which was, he said, you need to start systematizing a lot of the stuff. And that's what I did. And when I did that, that's when I realized it's a pillar. So that's when I realized it was a pillar, when he said, hey, you got to start systematizing what you're doing.
And we talk about authenticity, right? I mean, you kind of found your way into that space by trying to help people. I mean, that's what you just said. I don't even have to ask the question if it's authentic to you, because that's who you are and that's what you did. I think the room, again, as much as you guys are all on your way to legendary status, I think this room can only handle maybe one at a time. We do have one in the house. I don't know if everybody knows. Obviously not me or Kelly.
Close though.
We got Joe Calloway in the house right there. I've known Joe for a while. We used to go to the broker on the lunches for a long, long time. And what did I say? You'd always be learning, huh? Always be learning. Even I was like, you're gonna maybe sit up here too, or what? You want to moderate this thing? Okay. All right. He's like, yeah, you like the panel. I don't know who it is up here. Maybe it's Shelly. I don't know. Yeah. But no, good having you here. So I love, again, the mindset of someone that's had the success that you have had, that's in the seat right now of how do I learn, how do I grow, how can I get better? And again, so Brian, same question to you. How and when did you identify your pillar?
I didn't even know it was a pillar until 2015 when I was invited to speak on the door knocking piece. I did a lot of things. I was farming, I was doing open houses, and at the end of the day I was like, hey, I gotta, some open houses for me were successful, some weren't, and I'm like, what can I do over a period of however many hours and get in front of a lot of people and get results? And so I just went out and I went direct, and then I did that for a little while, kind of just going around talking to people, kind of trolling for listings, and then kind of put two and two together. If I had buyers for these doors I'm actually hitting, I'd be a lot more successful. And so that's what I did. I was calling builders, investors, saying, hey, what's your buy box? How can I help you? And I'd go out and get it. And that's what I did. So 2015 is really when it really took off for me, and I saw the potential of what could happen by just going direct and having a look back. So.
While we're here, I love the story of your first day in real estate. Tell us about that.
My first day.
No signs, no nothing.
Yeah, my first open house. I didn't have anything, right? I mean, I had X amount of dollars to my name. I left multiple streams of business. My wife and I, it was like, hey, all in. We had to make this work. I borrowed signs from other people in the brokerage. I had MLS printout, black and white. I didn't have business cards, and I just wrote my name with a Sharpie and my cell phone number, and that's what I handed out. 'Cause I didn't know what to do, but I knew if I was out there, somebody would come in and meet me, and so on and so forth. And we actually had some pretty good success. Picked up some good clients and sold a $1.5 million house off of not having business cards, but from being there.
Now that's return on investment.
Yeah. I just think, sometimes.
I love that. It's a great business. It's a great business.
So many people, and I think this is true, just, talking to people, they want to make it perfect, right? And I'll talk more about that later on today about door knocking. You just have to do it. You have to take action, and whether you're writing your information down with a Sharpie on a black and white, piece of paper because you don't have a colored printer yet, or you're knocking on doors with nothing, right? I mean, you just got to get out and do it because you never know where that that next sale is, and that yes, which is what we're all looking for.
We're going to get into a whole bunch of stuff today, and again, kind of the components that make up a good agent, a successful agent. But when you talk about this authenticity as well, again, I think for you it kind of speaks true, and I don't want to answer this for you, but how is door knocking authentic for you?
It's just me. You get me, right? At the door. Sometimes I'm telling jokes. Sometimes, they think I'm a police officer. They don't want to open the door. If I'm doing it in the town of Paradise Valley, they think I'm, there for a photo radar ticket. And I'll play along with it, and sometimes, I kind of made a joke. Somebody on the Facebook post, they say trick or treat. I'll say whatever, just to get the conversation going.
Yeah.
So it's easy for me to be me. When I first started doing it, I wasn't sure what I was doing. I was kind of shaking like a junkie when I go to the door, and I'm like, what am I going to say?
Yeah.
And once you're not worried about it, because even my worst performance door knocking is better than someone who hasn't door knocked at all, right? Mm-hmm. So.
And they're probably relieved you're not selling them solar panels, or you're not serving them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Girl Scout
cookies look good.
Yeah. For all four of you, is it important to love your pillars? Maybe like your pillar?
Me?
Yeah,
Any of you?
Oh,
I think it is.
yeah. I think it is too. I think you got to really feel it.
Or maybe it's the components?
Because
of
I
that?
hate door knocking. I will never do that again.
Yeah. And again, I don't want to overuse this word authenticity, but again, I think that it's important for everyone in this room. And again, maybe you have these things identified. Again, like Joe, you've been farming for a few years, 1 or 2, I think. You know what I mean? Like it's again something that I think as we're talking about this for individuals, something that you can buy into yourself. And if it's something like you just said, I hate good door knocking. I can't go face to face and just do that, right? Some people can. Some people have wild success doing that, right? Some people are like, well, I need to invite them in and they could get face to face. So I need to nurture my, my database and my sphere, and for me, that's how I'm going to get the results. So I'm going to go all in like that. And again, it's not to say that you can't. I know all of you have more than just one pillar, but again, when you come back to these things. So again, kind of diving into you guys in your individual arena. Shelly, let's go back to you. You talked about it started, you took a whole bunch of notes, you learned from one of the greats of our industry in farming.
Yep.
How do you choose a farm area?
Well, I mean, first of all, you need to take a look at, if anybody else owns that area, if there's any other agents that own the area, which is really easy to do. And then it just makes sense also, I think, that you do it in your own community, which can also create problems, like when my daughter would have a fight with a friend. I'm like, her parents are never going to use me. I'm pretty sure. There's that kind of stuff too, right, that goes on in a neighborhood when you're working in a neighborhood that you live in. So, but I think that it just makes it easier, and the advice was always given to me too, that it's so much easier to, work where you live. Like I have a listing right now in Gilbert, and I dread driving out there every single time that there's something going on. And I'm like, what am I doing? It's so much easier, and I know the area so well, and eat there, drink there, shop there,
So one of the things I love about farming is you're diving into, like you just said, your community, right? On every channel, if it's a school event, if it's local things that are going on in the area, community centers, whatever it is, right?
Yep.
So what are you tracking? Okay, what numbers, you talked about, you don't want an area to be oversaturated with another agent that dominates that market, so to speak, right?
Right.
What does that look like?
Well, I have 60% of the market, sometimes
Just 60,
70.
huh?
That's it.
In my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Well, I have 4 listings. We have 4 listings in the neighborhood right now, and there's 1,500 homes, and there's like 8 homes
Wow.
that
And
are
they say, I mean,
that are
they say an
active.
average community or neighborhood, or if it turns over, what, 15% a year, is that
Yeah.
still right?
Mhm.
Okay.
I think it's 10 to 15.
How old are those
10%?
homes, Shelley? I've been to your house. How old are they?
2007
Really?
is the oldest.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
So what numbers or stats are ideal for you or for anyone looking to identify that area? Do you have that?
Well, I mean, like if you think somebody even owns 25% of an area, then you probably should choose another area, in my opinion. And it's so easy to just get on and do a search and take a look at, who's been selling over the last, I would look probably for at least a year and figure that out.
Yeah.
There's so many one-hit wonders in neighborhoods, you'd be shocked.
Yeah. So, inexpensive way, if I'm, again, an agent or a new agent that's looking to start a farm, how can you stay in front of your farm out of the gates without spending a ton of money?
So when I started, it was with a newsletter because everybody loves to see, what has sold, especially older people that don't get on Zillow and Homes.com and, all that kind of thing. And I would see that people were saving these. But anyway, we started by just having these printed with our title company, and then my daughters and some of their friends would deliver them. They're like on roller skates
Yeah.
when they were 7 and 8 years old, and drop them off at the front door, kind of put them in a screen. And I got those people that called and they were pissed at me because you put that flyer in between my screen and my and that kind of stuff used to make me just mortified. But now I'm just like, really sorry about that. Well, we don't do that anymore.
Right.
We mail them.
Yeah.
But you're always you're always going to piss somebody off. It seems like, and you just
Right.
have to say, oh, I'm very sorry about that, and just move on. But that's how we kept the price down. Is I was just paying them a small amount to deliver them and put them on people's doors.
Yeah. And again, I come back to like a farming is, like I said, a community, it really inserting yourself into the community
Oh, yeah.
and farming being a component of that. So
Right.
how many of those other things, because again, I put it all together, how many of those other things are you doing and are important to what you consider is a good farm?
Yeah. I mean, we do it all. And I get people a lot of times that say, we see your name everywhere. And occasionally I'll say, oh, how did you hear about me, or how did you find me? I don't know. From your name being on that street because you sponsored the cleanup of that street. Things like that. I'm not really sure. I just kind of see you everywhere. I do things for the kids' school. I mean, we have a large community center, so that makes it very easy. There are times when I don't feel like going to the events, but guess what? I do it anyway because I have to shake hands and kiss babies and do all of that it really takes to stay in front of people and meet people all of the time. So it's just a layering effect. And there was a newspaper that was sent just to our zip code, and so I started advertising in that. Then I was writing an article with them. They also started doing a market report, which this cost me more because I eventually had the whole back page with a market report and an article and all of these things that went out to our entire zip code. So not just my neighborhood, but it's just a ton of layering,
Yeah.
And we also do open houses, and sometimes I say, not sometimes, all the time, especially in our area since I farm out, I go, if nobody comes in, who cares? They see my signs out and they're like, the Sakala group is working, and that's what we expect from them.
Yeah, you're there all the time, right?
Yep.
In the community all the time. Let's switch to Neil for a minute, okay? On the open houses, what are the biggest mistakes you've made or you see agents make?
Well, I think the biggest mistake that people make when they're doing an open house is they try and go into either like a really high-end, exclusive, expensive neighborhood, or they'll pick the wrong house that's got like 15 turns to get to it. You know what I mean? So what you want to do is you want to make sure when you're targeting a neighborhood, and by the way, some of these pillars you guys will see kind of coincide with each other. Okay? So for instance, when you're picking your open house, you guys, make sure you find a home that is in that price range where 90% of the people are, right? Because that's really where the money is. So you're going to want a house that's under $500,000 if you can, right? Now some people like to work exclusive listings and stuff, that's fine. But for getting volume and getting people in, you're going to want to find a home that's probably $325,000 to $400,000. That's in a 2 to 3 turns to get to the house off of a main drag, right? And something hopefully, preferably that's vacant, because usually a vacant home is a little bit easier. People walk in, they think, oh wow, I could move right in. That's what you're going to want to pick. And you're gonna, and you guys can see where those are. You can go into the MLS, you can find out where those neighborhoods are that are getting the most activity, where those price ranges are, and then you can pull up a map and you can look at the listing. And by the way, I started out sitting other people's listings because of course I didn't have any of my own. So you can pull up and you can search by MyHomeGroup. Pull up all of our listings, right? First of all, do the price range, narrow that down, right? Then come up with maybe 5 or 6 homes that look like they might work because of the price range, they're vacant. You look at the pictures, they look nice. Then you take it a step further and you do a Google search with the maps and you see how many turns it takes to get to that house. And if it's off a main drag, okay? Now, you got to do this not like the day before your open house. You got to do this a week before at least, okay? Because what will really make that open house something else is you pull up homes in that neighborhood, right? You get their addresses and you go, you don't have to door knock, but you can kind of door knock. And when I first got into the business, and I would do a little card with a person's name and address on it because you can pull it up in the tax records. So during the week, I would do that. I would do these cards with their names on it, and I would invite them to a to a neighborhood open house prior to the open house. And I'd put the cards on all their, I'd take 100 of them in the neighborhood. I'd put all these cards. Hey, I'm doing the open house on Sunday from 1 to 5. I'd love you to come by at noon and just give me feedback because you're a neighbor. I'd love you to see the house. And you know what? I got my first listing that way. I really did. And I would go door to door. And believe it or not, that was back when we had rollerblades, right? When rollerblades were in. So I'd rollerblade, and I thought, okay, I'll get some exercise while I'm doing this, right? A little glass of wine, put on some rollerblades, and off I go. It was a lot of fun.
Don't try this at home, guys.
A lot of fun.
It was great.
I was gonna ask you what you love about open houses, but it just comes through, right? And everything you're doing. For me, one of the things that I love, about open houses is that any of you at any time, anywhere can set up shop. It's a storefront for you.
Yes.
With minimal investment. Okay. I mean, again, you can do a couple other things to invest, but we have the ability in this industry that this retail center, they can't move. They can't set up somewhere else or some other community. You can set it up anywhere, and you can ideally be bringing people to you. And the other thing is, guys, if you don't have the pipeline, okay, in place, some of these things, farming, that might take time, right?
That's right.
That's absolutely one of the ways to build a business. Sphere, absolutely one of the ways to build your business. It could take time to nurture that. Door knocking, same thing. You probably have to knock on a fair amount of doors, get a lot of contacts, a lot of follow-up. Right, the thing about an open house is, again, if your pipeline's not full, you have the ability to do an open house every single day of the week, turn into your office, make phone calls, send your emails, do all the things that you need to do while having an opportunity to generate new clients. Right?
Yeah. I believe that open houses are the genesis of everything. I really do. I believe that all the other pillars kind of fall after because the open house is the most quickest way to a paycheck, and also, not only that, but it's great training. I mean, you don't get better training. You can sit in classes like this and you can pick up some things, But until you actually get out there and some person comes in and throws some question at you and you haven't thought about it before, it's a great way to really get your chops going as far as, wow, that was a good question, you know, boom, 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 boom. I still get people that come in and they'll hit me with something that I didn't think about before. You know what I mean? And I just kind of go,
that pull?
yeah, and I'm like, ooh, okay, that's another one. So that's why you should always do them, you know, even when you've been doing this 25 years like I have.
You know,
Yes.
Go
Sorry,
ahead.
I have a question. What do you think about the community open houses?
Okay, community open houses are not a bad idea, and the reason being is because why do the car dealerships put all their dealerships next to each other, right? People never think about that. It's kind of weird, isn't it? You don't have 15 McDonald's next to each other, do you? But you have the car dealerships next to each other, and that's because when you do a community open house, it brings in a lot more people, right? So you're not really losing out, especially if you're good at doing open houses. You know what I mean? Because they'll go into those ones where the people are just kind of doing them. They're kind of brain dead. We've all seen those people, right? You go in and they're like, yeah, whatever, you know? But yeah, I think they're a great idea.
So how do you differentiate yourself? Like in that scenario or any other scenario, I'm a buyer that's gone into 8 different open houses today. Why am I going to remember you?
He's on rollerblades.
He's got
I got the rollerblades.
He's the one very good.
I got the line, baby.
It's the beer.
Inside the house.
It's the beer.
Well, you just, that's the fun part of it. It's like a puzzle. Because when a person walks in, you got to kind of size them up a little bit, right? You want to size them up, and you want to see how they communicate.
Mirror them.
Yeah, if they're a little quieter, if they're a little this, a little that, then I'll do that. If they're more open and they're more exuberant and all that, then yeah, because you want to communicate. Yeah, you want them comfortable, right? And so I think when people come into my open house, they feel comfortable when they walk away that, oh wow, this isn't some guy that's going to breathlessly chase me for my business and going to call me all the time and do all that, like that. Like you have that quick speed date or whatever, and then they're call, you know what I mean? Nobody likes that, right? So yeah, I think that's what it is.
I think of this story, I've told it a lot of times. I think her name was Keelani that was on your team from years and years ago. And the story goes that she was working an open house every single day for I think 2 or 3 weeks. Right, the same open house, it didn't sell, different market back then, right, hadn't sold. Ended up picking up, I think it was 2 or 3 listings from people in the area that just saw her every single day and said, if you are working this hard to sell, you've got to be.
Yeah, you're my woman, man. I mean, yeah, that's how people are. They see you working hard, like they see your signs out there and everything, and that's what they want. Because let's face it, everybody thinks realtors are lazy and we get paid too much. So, right?
I've never heard that once.
Never.
All right, Daniel, on the Sphere database, okay, one of the things you do really, really well is client events, and I want to dive into that, what that process looks like. But before all of that, turning the clock back to the beginning, where did you start, like I said, on your Sphere, and you told us a little bit, but where do you start on your Sphere, and how do you know that there's gold in there?
So how I knew there was gold in there was because the same people that I helped do loan modifications at the end of 2010 going into 2011, they all came back and said, hey, you dropped my price from, my mortgage from this price to this much, but I still owe $400,000 and it's worth $100,000. This is back in 2010 when the market was tanking. And I said, well,
Short sale master right now. Some of you don't even know what a short sale is.
Oh yeah, I loved them.
It's funny to talk real quick. 2011, we brought on Daniel, I think it was, 2011, 2012. We were just rebranding. We were a small team doing our business, and Daniel came over, and he was a savage. I think we did 150 deals. Now we're doing, 15, 20,000 deals a year. We did 150 deals. I think you did 149.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like 130 up.
You kept the lights on.
So
That's why he's Hall of Fame, baby.
That's
So,
right. That's right.
You know, the reason why my home group attracted me was the ads you guys were doing. You should
Yeah,
put
yeah.
those ads and
Yeah.
frame it up
Yeah,
across
yeah.
the ads from back in 2013 and
Right.
2011.
Yeah.
But anyways, so in what was I talking about? I forgot.
Yeah.
Oh, so the loan mods, the same client database that the same clients that I helped do loan modifications, they came back and said, hey, I need to get out of my house. It's where I owe 400 and it's only worth 100. How can I get out? So the only way you can get out is to do a short sale. You can foreclose on it, but then you have back credit for 7 years or whatever, and then you can do a short sale. And you might back then they were giving 3,000, 10,000, 15,000. One client I got 25,000 that the bank would give them to do a short sale as opposed to letting them go to foreclosure. So that's the reason why I actually sat at the kitchen table with my wife. This was early 2011, and we grabbed a quarter, and we said, heads, I go to real estate school, tails, you go to real estate school.
Oh,
and
wow.
it was heads, yeah.
Wow.
So and that's the reason why. That's when I knew that the database was going to continue to give business, was because all those loan modification clients became my short sale clients. And this was, or I was already with my home group during this time when you and Mark, you guys would tell me like, okay, what are you gonna do after these short sales are gone? And I had no idea what you were talking about. I was only in real estate for 3-4 years. I'm like, what do you mean they're gonna be gone?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, the market's in a transition. You need to transition into being a traditional real estate agent. It's like, what does that mean? What does that look like? So. But again, I knew that the same database that I got all the loan mods, that I did the short sales, were the same ones that were going to do the traditional sales, and that's what it was. All those. Quick story before we move on. I've done a ton of first-time home buyers, and I love giving keys and taking pictures and all that, and it's like an emotional thing for me. But the one time I saw like a buyer break down just crying when they got keys was not a first-time home buyer. It was one of the short sale clients that they were forced to sell their house, and 3 years later they bought a house. She was in tears, and I said, I've helped so many first-time home buyers. I've never seen them cry. Why are you crying? And she says, when I lost that house, I thought I would never own again. So that meant a lot. So the database, it's always circle. It's like they did loan mods with me, they did short sales with me, they did the traditional sales with me, and now they're referring me because a lot of the systems that I do for my database.
I love that, and I know all four of you very well, and I know all four of you have pure hearts, and you care, and you put your clients first. And that might not be the topic for today, but I hope that that's just like something that rings out to everybody in this community. Like, we have to serve, right? We have to be here to serve people, and if we lead with our heart and we serve and we put them first, and it's not about them, all that will come. If we lead with that, there's a reason I think that you all are successful. No doubt about it. So, Daniel, staying on this topic, okay, so if I'm any new agents in the room, less than a year? No? Okay, 1, 2, 3, okay. We all have a database sphere. It's right there, right? It's right here, right? And so if I'm a new agent and I want to start building my sphere, my database, where do I start?
But I recommend,
Or anyone trying to elevate theirs.
So and I get this. I hear this all the time from people that say, "Oh, the database. I don't like. I'm a new agent. I'm less than 3 years in the business. I don't have a database. So you got nothing to teach me." And I disagree with that. I think we all have a database. It doesn't necessarily mean everyone who has bought or sold with you. It's anyone in your circle, your family, right? Now, if you're not going to do well in your database or sphere if you're like a mean person, or if you're a douche, no one likes you. I'm sorry, you're not going to do well in serving your database. No, it's true. You got to be likable. If you're not likable, you're not going to do well in your database. You're not going to do well in your sphere. You got to be likable in order to do well in your sphere and your database. But my point is, everyone has a sphere database, and that doesn't. Real estate agents always think, it's the clients that have bought or sold with me. It's not that. It's your family. It's your friends. It's that's your sphere. That's your database. Everyone's involved in some type of community. It's your community. That's what I wanted to get to. If you go to church, that's like your sphere, that's your database. If you're like in a yoga class, that's your sphere database. If you're in a whatever, you go hiking with your buddies or whatever it is, you got a community, that's your database. And that's the ones that you really have to go after, not in a salesy way, again,
Right.
you want to be likable,
Right.
you want to be approachable.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, you have to be likable.
Do you categorize, and I know the answer to this, but for everyone else, do you categorize your database, your clients?
So I'm going to recommend a few books if you guys want to write some of those down. The 7 Levels of Communication. The 7 Levels of Communications was really big in my early career. Love that book. It's an old book, but it's still to this day is a great book. Another one is Raving Fans. Raving Fans is it's just the way, if you really want to take real estate as like a business, you need to read Raving Fans. And the third one was by Gary Vaynerchuk, The Thank You Economy. And so those books are going to be really essential when you want to serve and help your sphere and your database. So yes, I do categorize them, and I got that from the book, The 7 Levels of Communication. You want to categorize your database, right? There's some people in your database who, let's say, are not, they're not your clients, but they're your people, like they're your favorite people, and they refer people to you. So then you categorize them, and you write their name down in an Excel spreadsheet, whatever, in your database. You write their name down. This is my favorite people, and you make a list. And then there's people that have bought or sold with you. They're in a different list. And then there's people that have bought multiple properties with you and refer you. They're in a different list. So in their birthdays, what I did early on when I was starting off, for birthdays I would hand out a handwritten birthday card. And then I would do a $5 gift card. And now I do a homemade cheesecake, and it's hand delivered to them. But those are the ones that get the special treatment are the ones that have the ones that get the cheesecakes are the ones that have bought with me in the last 3 years, or the ones that have referred me in the last year. And they're the ones that get the special treatment. So
Like your VIPs.
VIPs, yeah.
And what I think is important about that is, again, you're giving a different level of experience. Not everybody should get the same level of experience with you, right? People that have bought or sold, people that are your raving fans, people that refer you, right? They should get a higher level of experience with you, right? And from you, right? Maybe all the way down to the other extreme of someone that filled out a submission on your website or something, right? Like, are you going to do those types of things for them? Of course not. Do you forget about them or just put them in the trash? No, right? They're still in your CRM, or they're on your drip, or whatever else it is. But they're not getting that high level experience, from you. So, Brian, let's come back to you. Again, when you talk about like the love for what your pillar is, or for me, again, one of the things that I love about you is obviously, I'll go with business cards. I don't need anything. I'm just going to go. It's just that pit bull mentality. Like, I'm going to go. I'm not scared. And I think back to me and Mark back in the day when we were in production. I was more of that door knocker. I'm like, I'm not scared. I'm just going to. Mark's like, I can never do that. Right? I can never try to just go knock on somebody's door and try to do that. So maybe it's not for everybody, but for you, where do you, or where should we, where do we door knock?
It's really there's no set in my opinion anyway. There's no set area that you should door knock. You door knock where you want to door knock, whether that's an area that you're going to farm or that you live in, or if you have buyers for that area, go door knock there. It just you just have to do it. I don't love door knocking, but I do know that door knocking makes me far more money than anything else I can do. I've done open houses.
Does anybody like to make money? Okay, go ahead.
So I've done open houses religiously, and I've had some very good success with that. But when you start comboing that off with door knocking, direct mail, and things like that, is when you really start seeing the success, because people they walk in the open house like, oh, you're the guy that came by last week, or we see you walking around, or we get your mail, or they see you in a newspaper like the back page, you're like, oh, this person's successful because they're running ads, right? So you have this credibility, but for me, it is now where I have some of the largest builders in the state that call and say, hey, Brian, we need lots, or we need houses, or we need whatever in this area of town. And it could be like, they're going to give me parameters between 7th and 16th and Camelback and Northern. We need 3 lots or 3 properties or whatever. I'm their guy. I'm the phone call. I go get it. And so I have that now. So instead of setting up open houses, I know I have active buyers that'll happily pay me 3% to go out and get deals. And if people aren't interested in selling, at least I'm out there meeting people, right? I can go out and I can hit 20, 30 people in a day, depending on the lot size. If it's acre properties, I'm knocking a PV, I'm probably getting like 10 or 15, because some people will pull you inside and you're talking to them for an hour, and then you're like, wow. But there are people that, and you guys can find them online, that very, very successful people that all they do is hand out material. They get a calendar update or a monthly deal, and they just hit like 1,000 doors a month or 2,000. There's some brokers in Los Angeles and Beverly Hills that sell 100 million a year just off door knocking, and that's all it is. And some of them, I mean, I've talked to one of them. He doesn't even talk to people. He goes up, he slaps it on the door. Sometimes he'll introduce himself, but it's like knock knock, no one's there. He takes off, and it just goes.
So, do you find yourself a little less productive in July?
Yeah. So, funny enough, June and July have.
Or maybe that's the time to be the most productive.
Yeah,
It's like,
have
hey,
been.
come in for a glass of water. That's actually the time to do it.
Yeah.
Spray some water.
The stuff that we have closing in June and July is a product of stuff that we've done earlier on, and I've got some slides I'll throw up here later and kind of speak to that. But again, it all goes back to the door knocking. So the door knocking season really starts after Labor Day, and you probably kind of tailor it off a little bit after May. Not to say that I don't go out and do it in the summertime. I have. It's just people are very reluctant to stand there when it's 110 with their door open. They want to peek out and close because they don't want the cold air coming outside. And then, I have done it. My wife would bring me water. She's like, babe, you need a towel. Not have it here. I mean, I sweat. It's all over me. I got flags and postcards that I'm walking down the street. She's parking. I'm beat red. I'm like, all right, cool off. So I don't do that like I used to, but I will. I mean, if anybody wants to go out and door knock in the summertime, I'll go with you. I mean, the longest it's
No
ever.
hands up right now?
The longest it's ever taken me.
Let's go.
Come on. In one day, there was an agent at another brokerage that was struggling. I said, hey, let's go out. 89 doors. And it was a lot.
That's
It
brutal.
was a very long day. Got in front of a lot of people. Now this was an area that I don't normally door knock. It was Awatuki. I was like, man, where is everybody? Well, everybody down there is working. I was knocking in South Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, where there's a lot of retirees and second homeowners that were just home. So I had more success. I'm like, but where is everybody? That's why it took us so long. But on door 89, it was a nurse, and she's like, oh my gosh, getting ready to sell my house. It's amazing you guys are here.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
it's fate.
it is. But I've also had it where it's door number 1 or door number 3, and they're like, yeah, I do want to sell.
Wow.
Do you really have a buyer? And yes, I absolutely did.
See, and I know you, again, know your business a little bit, and you do have buyers, you do have builders, you developers, and things like that. So I think that is like a purpose, like, hey, I legitimately have somebody that wants to potentially buy your home. It's not just, BSing people. But if it's not something that's specific in that scenario, what are you saying, what are you delivering, and what's the frequency?
So the frequency is whenever I have time to do it. I got 4 kids, got a wife, business that we're running. So if there's ever an opportunity to say, hey, I'm gonna go out and make money today, that's what I do. I'll just get in my truck and I'll go. The pitch, it's different. If we have particular buyers in a certain neighborhood, I'm going out and I'm looking for that particular floor plan, that model. If it's in a newer community, then I'll just go straight for that. If it's, we're looking for something to develop or a remodel, I kind of bird dog. These wholesalers that you guys are getting constant, hey, I got this deal and the, retail is this after fix up. Those guys are just driving around town looking for stuff, right? They look for dilapidated properties, dead grass, broken windows, broken down cars, and they're just going up and knocking on the door. That's all those guys do. I mean, there's the little yellow and orange mailers that they do, and they've got some different systems and running pay-per-click and things like that. But a lot of those guys, they're just out bird dogging, and it's no different than door knocking, right?
You can door knock on all the doors, not just the beat down ones or whatever.
Yeah. Well, now depending what the need is where I'll go. So if it's a buyer need and they want, hey, we just want to be in this particular area, I'll go talk to everybody. But if it's a builder that's looking for turds to tear down, those are the houses I'm looking for.
I saw Joe's hand go up that he wanted a door knock with you in July, so I think that's very honorable. Neil, let's come back to you. All right, let's dive into this, okay? Like, what makes walk us through the key components. You mentioned a couple things, but like, what are the things that are the key components of conducting, holding an open house to make this your pillar?
Well, you mean as far as the mechanics of it?
Walk us through.
Mechanics?
Yep.
Okay, first thing you gotta do is lock the door. Okay, I know that sounds kind of counterintuitive, right? But you want to lock that front door because you want to meet them at the door when they come in, right?
Never heard that.
That's right. You don't want to just kind of breezing in, okay? And when you meet them at the door, just make sure that you've got some information in your hand to hand to them so it's not awkward. You know what I did? You know. So the first thing I'll do is I'll introduce myself. I don't shake people's hands because some people don't want you to touch them. You know what I mean? Right away. They don't even know you. So you don't want to just grab somebody's hand. So I always have some information and I just hand that to them. And I go, hello, I'm Neil. What's your name? And then I try and remember their name, okay? So that's the big thing, right? So you got to try and think of somebody else. You got to pray that somebody else that you know has their name. That's how I always remember it, you know? They say Don. Oh, that was my dad's name. So, you know, Don, okay. So, and then you give them the information, and I just kind of, this is how you break the ice when they come in. And I'll tell them, hey, it's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. It's been on the market, blah, 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 blah. You know, go ahead and run through the house. I won't follow you around, and I'll answer any questions if you have them. And they go, okay, good. You know, so I don't ask them to sign in or anything. I guess now we probably have to, but I do get them to sign in at a point. I don't get them to sign in the second they walk in the door. Okay, because it's putting up this barrier and everything, and people don't like that, right? You have other time, you'll have another opportunity to do that. So you just give them the information, and then you just, boom, let them go, and make sure you lock the door, right? And then you always go, I let them kind of go through the house, and then I get more information. I have a second handout, right? First handout's the MLS printout. The second handout is going to be comps in the neighborhood to show that your home is priced right. Hopefully it is priced right. Sometimes it's not. You can be honest about that if they say that too. And you take that, and then you go out into the backyard, right? Because where are they going to go? They're going to have to go in the backyard at some point, right? So you go out, make sure you got your phone with you, like you're talking to somebody on the phone. Go out into the backyard, and you just kind of walk around, and when they come out, then you can approach them again at this point. You go, oh, by the way, I thought you'd want to have some comps here. And at this point, it's taken their guard down, usually. Okay, and then that is when you can do the real work. And the real work is finding out what their story is, right? You want to find out what's their story. Are they renting? Oh, really? When does your lease expire? Right? Kind of gives you a time frame of what they're looking at, you know? You guys, sometimes I just say to them, you guys thinking of buying or selling or what's going on? Sometimes you find out that it's a neighbor and they're thinking of selling their house. Then all of a sudden, oh, wait a second. This is a listing opportunity, right? And it might be a listing and a buy opportunity. You know, we all experience this. So, and it's just those two simple things, right? You approach them in the backyard, or the kitchen sometimes is good also. All right, and you give them that second bit of information. And then you try and find out what their story is, and then you just got to go from there. Because you don't know what the story is. It could be a whole bunch of different things. And then you just kind of try and not be overbearing, right? And just be helpful at that point. You don't want to scare them away. Then, once you give them that information, you go back into the house, right? Let them walk around the backyard and do all that. That's when you get ready to get their information before they walk out, right? So when they come back in, now you guys are lucky. Back in the day, we didn't have a law that said that you have to have people sign in, right? So when they come back in, that's when I would, say, well, what did you think of the house? Because you want to engage with them. It's this simple, you guys, it really is. Can you do me a favor before you leave? Because you don't want them to think you're going to keep them there forever. What would you give this house on a scale of 1 to 10? Okay? It's that simple. And then they'll start talking to you. And they'll say, this is great feedback that I can give the seller. What did you think of the kitchen? What did you think of this? And then they kind of open up. Some people don't. Doesn't work every time. But I would say at least 75% of the time, you'll get them to start talking to you. And then you'll be really surprised what they might say to you and how much they might disclose to you about what their situation is. And then you got something to work with, all right? And then before they leave, you got to say, hey, just so I can prove I was doing my job, I got to get your information, do you mind? And so now there is, we have apps and stuff that people can use. You can give them a tablet to fill out their stuff. Because back in the day, they would scribble it and then you wouldn't, they put the wrong this or the wrong that. So I would always handwrite it. I'd say, oh, what is your email? And then I'd write it down. And what is this and what is that, right? Now we have apps that actually, I found out from Daniel, he's got this app that when they put wrong information in, it goes, eh. Right? Back when I first got into real estate, we still had multi-part forms. That was probably even before you guys were doing it, wasn't it? Did you have the carbon copy? Okay, you were around back then? Okay. So it's that simple, you guys. It's super, super simple.
How many people do you feel like will give you their info? Thank you.
I'd probably
What's
get,
the percentage?
I would say 50%. I'd say about 50% of the time I get good info from people. Yes, go ahead.
I would say now with the changes and everything, every open house I'm doing, I tell people we're required now, you have to sign.
Yeah.
These new rules that went down on August 1st.
Or like the homeowner requires, or per the homeowner's request.
No, I just say it's,
I'm just saying it's
a
a
new
New
rules.
law, yes.
Yeah.
And you guys, I've got,
No, it's not.
What do we have here?
this is something that I'll put my email address down on this thing. And you guys can email me if you want these. And this is kind of breaks it down step by step, kind of what you want to do. You probably want this.
Yeah.
You Renee, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good to see you,
I've
man.
done a lot of open houses for you.
Yeah, Renee.
Oh, good,
Renee's the
good.
man. Renee's not scared. He gets out there and does it,
Love it.
So what program are you using for signing up for the open house?
You'd have to ask Daniel.
What's your
I don't-
I use Commissions Inc. It's kind of like Conversion or Boomtown.
CINC, Commission CINC.
And that one has an app for open houses. You can only download it on tablet. I love it. It works wonders.
And I think Johnny
That's
Walker's got
your
one
CRM
too.
one?
Yeah.
What's your Johnny Walker? Do you remember the name of it?
I just got it yesterday. It's I'll look it up.
Okay.
So Neil, I love that you're
It's
creating.
a sign-in. It's like an automatic. It's a fancy sign-in sheet.
I love that you're creating multiple touches, right? They come in,
Right.
they meet you, and then there's a level of separation.
Right.
And they experience you again, you're building a little more trust.
Right.
During the separation. Now you're kind of like building or knocking down these barriers. Of
Slowly.
Like, oh, I remember this guy. He feels comfortable now. You know,
Yeah.
you
You don't
I
want
love
to
that you-
lurk.
Yeah.
You don't want to like follow them room to room.
So
You don't want to do any of this kind of stuff. Nobody likes that.
Nobody wants that.
Yeah,
They
when
want
we
it.
used to go into malls to go shopping for clothes back in the olden days, and the salesperson would chase you, follow you around. What do you think of this?
Just because we would steal stuff.
That only happened to you.
Oh, okay.
Maybe not shells, because you were bullied. So, okay, I mean, good tips there. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
How about the follow-up process? What's that look like?
The follow-up.
You got
is-
their information, they signed in, all the tricks work. What do we do now?
Yeah. Then what you'll do is I send them a thank you card. Right? Hey, thanks for coming to my open house.
A handwritten card?
No, because I usually just have an email at that point. I don't have their address, but
Okay.
I'll send them an email and I'll just say, hey, thank you so much for coming by. That feedback was really important. It did a lot for my client. If I can ever be of any assistance, just let me know, and I'd be happy to put you on a feed with the MLS or blah 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 blah. And just kind of something real simple,
Do they
And
end up in your database and then you drip on
and
them?
then they go into my database and I drip on them. Yeah. I have a really easy CRM. It's called Wise Agent. Okay. And they're a local company here out of Fountain Hills. It's a CRM that's super simple and it's set up specifically for real estate, and it's not too technical, you know, because I'm a simple guy. So I don't want anything that takes more than 3 strokes, you know?
Any
key.
video that you send them or anything after the open house?
No.
All right, that's one of the strategies I heard that I love that some folks out there that are doing.
Oh, so
Someone
the
comes
video
in-
of that house?
or a video of
Yeah,
you.
same thing.
Oh,
Same
Yeah,
thing.
which I love that
Oh.
strategy. Again, maybe some like it, some don't. But
I didn't think about
you know,
that.
someone comes in, they've met 5 other agents or 10 other agents. A quick selfie video. Hey, Dan, great to meet you. Good luck in your kid's soccer game. If you can pull something personal out of them, that like, hey, I only got a few minutes here.
Not a bad idea.
My
You
kid's
can probably
soccer game.
video that while
Right?
you're there.
That's what I mean. They leave. It takes
Yeah,
20
makes
seconds.
them remember.
Dan, it's
Yeah.
great because who else is doing that? Here's a master talking about that. He's not even now. You're going to probably start doing that, right? But it's how do we differentiate ourselves? And let's think about this across all of our business, right? The differentiate, the root word, different. How are we different than the next person? If they've met 5 or 10 agents, how are we going to be remembered? How are we going to get their attention? And again, it's another follow-up thing. It's personal. If you can use their name and you can use something again about their life or something that you pulled from them, you know what I mean? Hey, good luck breaking your lease and you know the next month or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Where do
You'd
we?
be surprised what they'll tell you.
Yeah.
You really will be
Yeah, yeah.
surprised.
Any other tips, tricks to make a successful open house?
Sorry?
Any other tips or tricks to make a successful open house?
No, just I think to put jet fuel into it, door knock before the open house, hit 100 of the houses, invite them to your open house that weekend. The people that are thinking of selling their houses, and they're out there, they're going to go, wow, this is somebody that really is working. This is somebody that I would like to sell my house, right? And then, and then just being you, and then making sure that you got the signs set up in the right place, not too many turns, pick the right property, that's super important. And,
So
and
if I'm a newer agent or an agent trying to really, you know, pump up my database or my network or
Yeah.
my buyer pool, how many open houses a week, a month?
Well, it's funny,
good
man.
number?
I have people come to me and they say, Neil, you know, I know you've been doing this a while. How did you do this? And I said, how can I do that? And I say, do an open house every Saturday and Sunday for the first 5 years you're in the business. And then after that, you won't need to do it anymore, if you don't want to. But I'm serious, that's all it takes. That's really all it takes. And then you'll be making at least a couple $100,000 a year out of
Guys,
it.
Carl dipped in here and I saw him take a call. He set a goal, right? He's across the hall from me upstairs. He set a goal of 50 open houses in 2 months, right?
Yeah,
This
Carl
is-
did.
This
Carl.
is someone that's been around the industry a year longer than Joe. Someone's been around the industry had success that's really trying to 10x their business, right? That's really trying to step up. One of the things that I love about just about every one of these, and I want to dive into it a little bit as well, is that I'm a huge fan of lead measures. If you haven't heard it, Kelly's heard it 1,000 times, right? Who knows what a lead measure is or who doesn't, I suppose. Really, really quick. Lead versus lag, right? The lead measures are the things that you can do that you can control to get to the lag, to get to the results, right? So, how many doors can I knock on today, right? How many open houses can I do in the next 30 days, right? How many touches can I do into my database of things that can I deliver a value? How many calls can I make into my database, right? Or activities. What farming activity? How many things can I control in my farm? How many pieces am I going to send out? How many community events am I going to show up to? How many school functions am I going to show up to, right? You can control these things in your business. Can we guarantee the results? Obviously not. But we can guarantee the lead measures to do the things that can get us to those results. So, speaking of those, what are you tracking? Because again, guys, I want to challenge everybody in the room. This is a very, very difficult thing to do, I feel, for any business, okay? We talk about our lead measures. What's the scoreboard for those lead measures, right? It's the attaching to the process, detaching from the outcome. I could knock on 100 doors one day or 89 doors, and maybe it doesn't work one day. I could knock on 10 the next day, and I could pick up 2 listings. So again, sometimes it's detaching from the outcome, attaching to that process. Again, so what are the things that you're tracking? Again, challenge you all to create a scoreboard for those lead measures because again, you can control this. So what are the things that you're tracking, okay, in order to hopefully get to those results?
For us, it's just setting goals. We know we have to, I have to go out and I have to hit however many doors, to get X, right? If my goal is to go out and get to a month, more than likely I'm probably hitting 200 doors. If it's very specific and it's just, a small little area I'm going after, I may have to go hit, those same people 3 or 4 times over a period of 3 months. But it's kind of figuring out what it is, how many times you're going to have to do it, and just keep attacking. Just keep digging your well so it doesn't dry up. Going back to the door knocking at open houses, some people need a purpose. I can't just go knock on their door. But if you're hosting an open house on Saturday or Sunday and you go knock on their door and then, you're going there and you're saying, hey, having an open house or whatever it is you say, I used to tell people I was having an otter pop party and bring your kids. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, it's down here. I give them the address and they come and they bring their kids and they give them popsicles, right? It works.
100%.
But how many people, if you hit 100 doors, I think door knocking, the perception is, they're going to be so mad at me. It's no different than picking up the phone and cold calling people, right? On the phone, people are lions. You go to their door, they're lambs. They will be very nice to you. 90%, 95% of the people you go talk to at their house are really cool. It maybe 1 out of 100, 2 out of 100 are not happy you're there. But hey,
Because you like them.
well, I don't know. I mean, I don't like people coming to my house. Right? I don't solar house. My wife will get it.
I don't either. I'm like, who's here?
But I will tell you to show you that it does work. Our financial advisor, he worked with Edward Jones. If anyone's familiar with Edward Jones, they have to go door knock the communities that their offices, their brokerages are in. This guy came to our door, and I'm like, it's dinner time. I'm like, what's this guy doing? But, again, I just came out because I was door knocking. And, I'm like, and we told him, hey, we have somebody at Edward Jones. We're set, but I appreciate the hard work, the hustle, and all that. I sent him an email. Our Edward Jones person left a couple years later. We gave him a call. And when we met with him, and to this day, he has in the front of our file, he pulls it out. And there's an email I sent him like, hey, I appreciate the hard work and hustle. Right? And he's like, look at that, man. This is from door knocking. Now he has us and people that we've sent him and so on and so forth.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, now when you go last, I was going to stay on you for a minute. Neil, what are you tracking? Lead measure scoreboard.
I'm not sure. What do you mean by that? I mean,
Well, is it a number
Like
of
how
open
many open
houses?
houses
Yeah,
do
is
I
it a
do?
number? Yeah, is it a number of open houses? Is it a number that then gets you to how many contacts?
oh
I have?
yeah. No, I'm pretty simple. So I just know that if I do a certain amount of open houses over time, I'm going to get the business, and the business is going to come in, and then I use the CRM to track people to try and keep that going. But it's just a simple thing. Every Saturday and Sunday for 5 years. It's that simple. It really is. And holidays are even better. So if you're doing an open house on Thanksgiving, guess what? You're going to get a lot of people coming through. But that's really what it is. I've always tried to keep it super simple, you guys. And I wish there was some more magic to it than that. But that's really what it is. Every Saturday and Sunday. Yes, young lady.
Yeah, so I recently had a baby and I don't want to do weekends and evenings with her. Is weekdays, work hours totally out of the question for open houses?
No, absolutely not. You go into Sun City. No, I'm serious about that.
100%.
You could go into Sun City and you would be a superstar in Sun City. And let me tell you something, Sun City is one of the communities that turns over homes more than any other neighborhood in the valley, or any 55 plus. But you want to make sure it's not a gated part or something like that. Another idea would be, if you want to be in your neighborhood and you want to develop a farm, then you could do short open houses just before school gets out. When everybody's going to pick their kids up and do all that kind of stuff, you do an open house from 3 to 5, right?
When the school bus is coming by.
Yeah, you're gonna do kind of like a mini open house, and you could do more of those, and you could do those during the week, and you could have people come in. You have 4 or 5 people come in. Oh yeah, absolutely. So
There's-
Sun City during the week, and then you could also do a regular neighborhood during the week when school gets out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, great advice.
There's a stat that's been around the industry for a long time, maybe it's up, maybe it's down, but at some point you can figure that out. That's why I'm always curious about these types of numbers, that 34 contacts at an open house turns into a deal. Okay, so how many did I get today? I got 15, I get 15, whatever it is, right? Maybe there's a high traffic area where you can develop more. Again, maybe the numbers, maybe you strike gold one time. I'm sure we've all struck gold at some point. You meet the right person at an open house, or you meet the right person door knocking. You were telling the story earlier, and oh my God, it turns into has the opportunity to turn into a tremendous amount of transactions. Right?
You had a question?
What are your hours that you're?
I go 1 to
successful?
4.
1 to 4.
Yeah, 1 to 4. Those were kind of the traditional ones. Everybody's kind of trained 1 to 4 on Sundays. The community kind of knows that. Yes, go ahead.
If I can add one thing, Ally, on the regular neighborhood that you were talking about, the school, if you do it multiple days in a row, the mom that's going to get their kids will say, oh, if they're open tomorrow,
Right.
I'll go 15 minutes early.
That's right. So
if
you
you
do it every day.
2 days in a row or 3 days in a row.
Or maybe a sign on there that has open tomorrow or something, right?
Something,
I
yeah.
mean, be strategic. Let's think.
But here's the thing, you guys, about the open houses. The open houses and measuring and doing all that kind of stuff, it's really the journey that you have to love. The journey is actually doing the open house and meeting people, and it's like the journey is the thing that you love, and the rest of it will come.
It's attaching to the process.
Right,
Detaching from the outcome.
that's
Right,
correct.
that's attaching to the process and not hoping that you do enough of those that the results will come. Shelley, what are you tracking?
We track everything, really, because I want to know what my return on investment looks like, and it's fairly easy to do when you're like, I'm going to send out 1,500 of these postcards. And especially, I was going to tell you guys, I'm gonna hand these out, so if you want to take any photos of them, or if you want to get with me later, or whatever, throw them in the trash, which I'm sure half people but you have to look at it first, so.
That's right.
But we're loving QR codes, so that really helps me track a ton, because I can see the people that have clicked on this, it comes right back to me, so I'm able to tell if my
That's one of the
marketing
challenges
piece-
with
effective.
farming, is that you don't
Right.
quite know the eyeballs that you're impacting. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna and then the other thing too, you guys, is I always try to, Jennifer knows this, she's like, like this is a magnet and it has the bulk trash schedule on it for our area. I see
People
these,
love that. My
I go over to
daughter's
people's
in your
houses for
neighborhood,
parties.
and she has it on her
She
fridge.
does, yeah. I'll see
What
it
a
on the
great
side of
idea
her
that
front
is.
door.
I love it.
Except for
Yeah.
they keep changing it up and then I look like an idiot. But we put a QR code on this one to say, if it doesn't, and people love, by the way, people love to do that too. Like on our Facebook page, they'll be like, oh, we got your magnet, but then the dates are changed.
And you're like, oh, that's great. Do you want to sell your house?
That's what I'm saying though, when you put yourself out there, you're gonna get criticism. People just, not just people, and not everybody, but you always get that 1 or 2 or 3, somebody pissed off for no reason. But these used to be larger and they were better, but again, we're not hand delivering them anymore. These went on a postcard this year, so everybody could just pull them
People are so
off.
funny, aren't they?
Oh my God, yeah.
What do you say? Just go, hey, thank you so much.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
I know
thanks,
Shelley's.
thanks for that.
Thanks for educating me. I appreciate it.
All right, go ahead.
I know.
This lady has a question.
Who do you use to get your info and printing and design? Is that just your title company?
My title company does do quite a bit of it, but if it's something that I want that's special, then I have my own graphic designer. You guys, and I love this one because this goes out to anybody that buys in my zip code in 85085. So we look weekly and we look at, the homes that have sold. There might be 8, 10, 12, 15, whatever. And we send this out and mark it to the people that are new in the neighborhood. I always like to have an item of value because then you're probably not going to throw it away. Here's 25% off at the restaurant that we have down the street. And then also, this QR code takes you for helpful links like utilities, local hotspots, connecting with the fireside and the Terra community. This one just goes to my neighborhood fireside, but we have another one that we send out to the entire zip code. So, we're marketing to new people because guess what? Their buyer's agent may not ever reach out to them again, ever.
Yeah.
That's the case more
That's very
times,
true.
more times than not.
One more question, but like
Yeah.
with your coupon, do you go into the
Yep, and
Okay.
ask, and there's so many new businesses in my area that most people are like, yeah, we'll offer 25% off.
She
or
just
a
gives
free
away
drink.
money, people, restaurants, whether they're on board or not.
Where'd you get this coupon?
Don't tell them your coupon. But if you put like a coupon or a schedule, and then on one of them also, it's like, we're on the street, and so all the new things that are coming to our area, because our area has been kind of a ghost town when it comes to shopping and dining and things like that. And now we've got some cool stuff coming, so, you know, we try to add all of that, because again, that's something that people will probably hold on to, or they'll take a second to actually really look at it before they toss it in the trash can.
So you're inserting,
That's all
you're
you want.
inserting yourself into the community, right? You're building relationships with business owners, with restaurant owners, and whatever it may be, because now it becomes a win for them. And again, hopefully you continue to nurture that relationship, right? Because you never know what could happen with
Yeah.
them, right? But I mean, this is just a way to kind of tap in from all these things. So, Daniel, let's come to you. So first of all, what are you tracking?
So I think we should all be tracking the number of leads that come in. For me, I was always tracking referrals that come in. And when the market was great, and I don't know how these two correlate, but they do. When the market was great, I was getting anywhere between 10 to 12 referrals a month. When the market was okay, I was getting between 6 to 10. And when the interest rates were really high for the past 2 years or so, I was only getting 2 to 3. Sometimes I wouldn't get any referrals a month. And I couldn't understand why. Like, what is that? If a referral is a referral, how is somebody not going to refer someone just because the rates are high? My only conclusion is that it could be all the negative talk in the press and everyone talking about the rates that nobody talks about. I'm thinking about buying a house, so that no one's referring. Or they're afraid to refer because they heard on the news that it's a horrible time to buy, so they're not going to refer. That's the only reason I think that the referrals were down. But anyway, so one of the things you have to track, obviously, is the number of leads that come in. And I know, all you guys, whatever you do in your pillars, however many doors I knock, I get X amount of leads that are interested. So number of leads a month. And then the second thing that we all should track is phone calls. No matter what pillar you do, you should all be tracking your phone calls. On Commission Sync, the system that I use, my CRM, that's also a website. Commission Sync, it tracks my calls. And it tells me when I'm behind, it tells me when I'm doing great. And when I'm ahead, obviously I see the big number on there. And I try to get an actual conversation, 65 actual phone call conversations a week.
65 a week?
65 a week.
That's a lot.
That's actual conversations. And it's not always about you think about buying or selling. It's not always that. It could be just a conversation of hey, how are the kids? How's the house? How's this or that? It could be just conversations that, for me, is my database. So it's easy for me to have conversations with people I already know, and I track those conversations. If I don't talk to people, if I'm not in front of my database, if you're not top of mind, they're going to forget you. So you have to be top of mind. You have to be communicating with your database. That's why client events for me
Let's get to that.
have been phenomenal for me, because kind of like what you said right now, right? Is I'm door knocking for a reason, for an open house. For me, when I'm calling my database, I'm not calling just to see if they have any referrals. I'm calling to invite them to my client dinner, or I'm calling to invite them to the movie event that I'm doing this summer. So I have a reason to call. But we should all be tracking our phone calls. That should be something that everyone should be tracking, no matter what pillar you have. Phone calls, because you door knock, you have to follow up with them. They tell you they're interested, but I'm going to talk to my husband, I'm going to do whatever, or open house, same thing. I mean, no matter what pillar you have, fortune is in the follow-up. You have to follow it up with the phone call, and another call, maybe by the 10th, 15th call, that's when they're going to sign the listing agreement or decide to talk to your loan officer.
You mentioned events, but you said dinner, movies, but are there other events?
Oh, we're going to get into that. Oh, if you have a specific question on it, but go ahead.
No, that was my question.
Okay, yeah. And again, tracking our phone calls, all the things you guys are saying are wildly, accurate, I think, in what leads to the success. Again, guys, it's very, very important to track those lead measures.
Without a database, you're sunk.
Yeah.
You're absolutely
Yeah.
so. Everything you do is worthless if you don't have a
But
database.
sometimes there's those people that we don't necessarily click 100% with,
Sure.
or they're not easy to just text and say, hey, what's up, or hey, how's it, or whatever. The awkward past client or person in your database, like, how do you handle that? Or people that you haven't talked to for a
They
long time,
unsubscribe to everything.
or people that you haven't talked to in a very long time, and you're like, okay, this person's on my list for this week to reach out to, but you're just like,
So, sales have been down, right, and I think across the board.
No.
So I used to on every first Tuesday of the month, I would call all my past clients from the month before. So there was always like 10 to 12 that I would call. Since sales have been down, it's only on 2 or 3 phone calls that I'm done.
Yeah.
So this next one's gonna be a lot more. But anyways, so when I used to do that, Casey was my assistant back then. She forced me to call every single client that had closed the month before. And we had that one client he was a pain in the butt, and I didn't want to call him. And but the time Casey, she kept me accountable. Casey, she's still on my team, but she's no longer my assistant. But back then, she held me accountable, and she saw my CRM. She was like, "Hey, you didn't call so and so."
Oh, she noticed.
Yeah, and I was like, "Yeah, you know why I didn't call him?" He's like, "You gotta do what you." I was like, "All right, fine, whatever." And I called him, and I said, "Hey, just wanted to see how things are going." And it was like silence for about 5-6 seconds. It was awkward. And I'm like, "Are you there, man?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm just shocked that you called me." And I was like, "Oh, well," I acted like I didn't know why. What's going on? Why? He said, "Well," he's like, "I was an a-hole to you, man, and I'm so sorry."
Wow.
Yeah, he said,
Wow.
my wife was told that's the reason we sold it, because my wife said she cheated on me and I wasn't a happy person, and
Wow.
I took it out on you, and I'm so sorry about that.
Wow.
And to
It
this,
bothered him all those years.
yeah. Well, no, it was like like 3 weeks after he.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
every Tuesday I would make this call. I didn't want to call him. My point is that I don't want to call him, but I had, Casey made me call him, and it ended up being a great phone call. And then he referred 2 clients to me.
Wow.
The fall within that year.
So every Tuesday you make those calls. I just love it. Systematized.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah,
Great
and again, it's
story.
another recommendation, guys. Control the schedule, systematize it. Whatever you're scheduling those X amount of calls per week, per day, control that, right? You guys can control that. So, Daniel, again, one of the things that we're just seeing, you've done it at a very, very high level, and we're seeing a lot of folks out there have some success with it, is the client events, okay? We talk about inserting yourself in the community, bringing people together, right? Getting side by side, face to face. I think, well, you tell us. So what is that, walk us through?
Yeah.
Why these are so successful, how many touches, how do you leverage partners, minimize costs, the whole deal?
And it's been evolving, right? Like every time it evolves. And I used to do, like when I first started, I would just do this big client dinner, and then it got really expensive. So then I kind of did what we talked about earlier, was you categorize, right? Only the top clients that have referred X amount of people. I do a fancy client dinner. Last one I did was at the Henry. So we did it once a year, and it's only like the top 50 clients. Then they go to the Henry to get this special treatment. Once a year, I rent 2 big theater rooms, and this year we're going to do the Minions. My dad passed away like a couple weeks before that, so then I canceled it. But every year I do, during the summer when kids are out on vacation, I do 1 big theater event. And that one I invite like my whole database, because you got 800, like I got 800 seats, so I want to fill it up. So I invite everybody. So once a year, big theater events. Once a year, a fancy dinner to the top 50 clients. And then from September all the way through end of March, I do once a month. I do a Grimaldi's client dinner. To those I invite per year, because I've been doing. So again, it got really expensive. So what I started doing is that I now invite all the clients I have bought in 2021 and 2022. They go to this client event in September. And then clients I bought in 2019, 2020 go in October. And then clients I bought in 17 and 18, and so on and so forth. So I had to break it down by year. And Grimaldi's is in the patio.
I haven't done as many deals as you, Dan.
The Grimaldi's is really inexpensive. Grimaldi's, and it's fancy, but Grimaldi's, I don't know if you guys been to Grimaldi's. It's good pizza, and they got good wine. So I do it on Tuesdays because I get half off on the wine, and my clients love to drink. So I'll invite you to the next one.
Yeah, I'll be
But so the Grimaldi client dinner, it's really inexpensive. It only comes out to about $1,400 per dinner, and but about 55 people show up, and then I cut that cost with my lenders and my title. So out of my pocket, I'm only spending like $550 for a Grimaldi's client dinner for 55 people.
Yeah. So how many touches? Talk to us about like what leads up to that.
So it's 4 weeks. For a client event, it's 4 weeks. So it keeps me busy from September all the way through March. So the first week, I send out the invite, and normally I do it like on Facebook or a mass text to everybody that bought in those 2 years. And then the following week, the people that don't reply, that don't RSVP, I pick up the phone and call them to remind them about the events. And then the third week, I follow up with the ones that did RSVP. If I only have 40 people, well, normally 55 people, I need at least 70 people to RSVP because only 55 show up. So, for example, if I only get 50 RSVPs, then on that third week, I fill it up. I call back the other ones that haven't replied, or the ones I said I'm thinking about, or maybe I open up the invite to other years or other clients that I know for sure are going to my favorite clients. If I invite them, they're coming because they're my raving fans and they love being with me. So whenever I have seats to fill up, I call those raving fans and they will always come. But the reason I do that is because I'm paying 55 seats, and if only 40 show up, I want to pay for the other 15, and then people come out. So those are and then the fourth week is actually the event. Then I just touch up with wherever the event is going to be, whether it's the Henry or Grimaldi's. Make sure we got the seats ready, make sure everything's in line, and then show up, and it's party time. And then the following week, I followed up with a thank you card to everyone that showed up, and a phone call to those that RSVP'd and didn't show up. And it's always like, something came up, had flat tire, whatever.
Daniel, what about the pies?
Those are the cheesecakes are for. What I do too is for anybody's birthdays that have bought with me in the past 3 years. They get a birthday homemade cheesecake, and then I also do that for Mother's Day. Every single year, the month I get the most referrals is the month of May, and the reason why May I get the most referrals is because I hand out Mother's Day cheesecakes to my mom clients, and that month I always get the most referrals.
You're giving, leading with the heart, right? And it's a lot easier to go in for the referral or for the sale or for the deal when we're giving and leading first, right? Again, that invitation is powerful. And again, maybe out of the gates, we're not doing a big grand dinner at the Henry, right? I mean, maybe we can dial it down, and maybe it's a otter pop at the park, right? Or it's a, what'd you say?
Subway.
Yeah. It's a Subway, Subway sub party, whatever it is.
It doesn't have to be pricey.
Yeah.
You can figure something out. Like for example, one of the agents that joined my team, they wanted to again kickstart their business, and I told them, why don't we do a happy hour and you invite your family and friends to kick off your real estate career, and it'll spend like $150 because the vendors helped out. Like only 15 people showed up, but it was still the friends and family. So it doesn't have to be pricey. You can figure something out.
Definitely, and again, we can all spend a ton of money on online leads with a super low return, or this marketing or that marketing, or things that obviously take time. The goal, I think, for all of us is the folks in our phone, the people that know, like, and trust us, and how do we nurture those people, right? Because the stats are the same, that 15% of those people are going to buy or sell in the next couple of years, right? So what are we doing to nurture those? How are we moving that needle relationship to professional trust? All that. On that note, as we're trying to, probably difficult and challenging, Brian, we'll go to you on, you meet somebody at their door, how do you earn their trust?
Well, that's a great question. Again, everybody you go talk to is going to have a different story and a different situation. I'm not a very pushy guy, right? Sometimes it's, hey, Mr. Homeowner, I know you're not interested in selling your house. I'm just out letting you know my wife and I are working with buyers that are looking in the neighborhood. So if you do decide that you want to sell, or you happen to know anybody that is, here's our card. And that's it. There's no, hey, let me get your email. There's no pushiness, right? If they want to get a hold of me, they know how to get a hold of me. If they don't, they're not going to. And we've had people, that have reached back out later that day and said, wasn't thinking about selling, but what is your client looking for? And what is their offer and things like that. Sometimes that's 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months later, 2 years later. But those calls do happen. So it's just being yourself and being truthful and being honest. If I didn't have a buyer for their property, I'm not going to tell them that I did, because the last thing I want to do is have someone be like, bring it in. And then I have to call my buddy and be like, all right, you're the buyer. I'm not doing that. There is no better feeling than when someone's like, yeah, bring him over. And I'm like, who do I call? Because we have multiple people that'll take this down. And my concern is, shoot, is this person going to get mad that I brought it to this person? When that's your problem, that's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
But then you make that decision based off the buyer that you feel is going to be the best fit for that deal and get it to the finish line. So, and it's, I would say out of those situations that 99% closing rate on that. Very rarely do we get somebody that says, hey, yeah, we're interested in selling, and we bring someone and they don't make the deal. We don't make the deal happen. Once somebody's there, and both people have the same goal, it gets done.
Guys, I have 384 more questions, but time is flying here today, so I do want to open it up. One sec, Shelley. When it comes to farming, what is the best return on investment that you see?
I think for me, it's been doing a monthly touch to the entire neighborhood. So a newsletter, that's how I started. I know it's old school, but like I said, people still want to see everything that's sold, everything that's active, compare it to their house. They still want to see that. And then,
and again, it's your database as a farm too. How are we farming and nurturing these things? Again, there's a huge overlap, right, between, again, because you could be delivering that same thing to your database as well, right? Do you do that too?
I don't send out a newsletter that's got closings and all of that kind of thing, but we do. Actually, we just started dripping once a week now. I used to just do monthly, and I usually have a video now included with everything that I send in my database of, you making up something for 30 seconds or whatever.
Right. Making some stat.
Yeah.
We have a couple right behind you. We'll come to you. My bad, because
Oh yes, I just wanted to make a comment for the knocking on the doors. We all have buyers, open doors, wholesalers, but open door, you can send them, you can upload a house that's off market and get 3%.
Yep.
That's awful bad.
I think it's offer pad, not open door. Open doors, well, we can't talk commissions anymore, but.
Yeah, but
Bananas.
but offer pad, really easy to work with in case no one's ever used them. So we've got buyers.
One more, right next to you, Johnny, first. Go ahead.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, this was about your newsletter. You mentioned that it has the monthly sales. Is that all that's in the newsletter, or are there other things in the newsletter as well? Is it strictly...
There's typically other things in the newsletter. Again, I like to have a coupon or an item of value, whether that's, an AC or plumbing company that you partnered with and they can offer a free tune-up or, $50 off of something like that, because I feel like people always hold on to it and they don't just toss it in the trash. So every time I send something, and not always, I guess, really, because the just listed people are typically not going to hold on to that. But we really, like I said, have been utilizing QR codes. So even if I send a just listed, well, you can click on that QR code and get your property value, things like that. So
I love the calls to action.
Always a
Tracking
call to
the data,
action,
item of value.
I really like that
Any kind of
coupon to
discount.
someone else. Like, hey,
And then
it's a
again,
discount someone else is giving, and
right.
stick it in
And then
there.
again, what can you give? Some people are like, hey, I like food. I'm a chef. Here's a recipe, or here's a D-back sports schedule, or something like that, or the local high school. It goes on and on and on of things that you could be delivering. And then again, as much as you can automate it, do you have it automated?
Well, we still do a lot of old school, mailers once a month.
Yeah.
I do a mailer, but trying to automate it more is, like I said, the QR codes now. And it's interesting because over the last probably year and a half, there have been a lot of more, and maybe it was since the pandemic, I don't know, where everybody had to do that for extended menus.
Right.
I feel like everybody's gotten more savvy
They get
with
it
that,
now.
Like even my mom knows how to do the QR.
Right, she knows now she can use her camera, right?
Yeah, and then just click on that comes up. It's like, okay. So.
Any other questions, guys? I want to open this up. Go ahead.
Brian, I got a question for you. So you really don't door knock unless you got buyers for that area?
No, I will door knock if
Pick 100 homes.
so, obviously every day, if I'm not doing something, that's what I'm gonna do.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
so second question on that. So I've done that, and my issue was always tracking. How do you track where you've knocked, where you're gonna knock next, and what do you prepare going in to door knock? Like, I mean,
Yes.
do you recognize recently sold and or any of that? Or
Before I door knock
Really?
an area, it's an area that I know. So if someone asks me a question, I can speak to it. I can speak to recent close, or I know the average days on market and things like that. I'll do some research before doing that. But usually it's where we have active buyers looking. So, I will go from, let's just, an example, most of you, if you're familiar with Scottsdale, the area between Indian School, Camelback, or Indian School and Chaparral, 82nd, Granite Reef, right? There's like 20.
Stay out of that area.
No, there's 22 homes on each side of the street.
I gotta go, I'll see.
Can literally stake it and just go one down one side, the other. So I know, like, okay, I finished at Glen Rosa, I got to pick up on Heatherbrae, or whatever. So that area, if I'm doing Town of Paradise Valley, I actually have a map that I got from the town. Every single parcel on there, I can check off who I've talked to.
So if you go back to the South Scottsdale,
Yeah.
do you have a list of all the homes and check?
I have a yellow legal pad, and the people that I've touched base with that are interested, I'm like, all right, here it is. I got their information. I'll follow up. If it's somebody, there was one guy down there, Indianola, is like, I'm not leaving here unless I'm in a pine box. Get the F out of here. I'm like, yeah, I'm never going back there, right? So that I track. But once usually I get a couple deals down there, then it's on to the next one.
Okay.
So I don't do the same area again and again and again unless I have somebody that's like, hey, we have to buy here. We're getting antsy. You get it, or we're gonna get somebody else to get it.
So not to be a pain in the ass, but the guy that was an asshole, do you put him in your CRM
No,
somehow? Or
I don't. No, I never talk to them again.
But you don't have to worry about going, so you don't go back to that area now, once you knock.
No, I'll go back to that neighborhood, but then we'll follow up with a direct mail piece, postcard. Hey, we got buyers, looking to purchase in your neighborhood, and they'd all get that again, and then we'd go, I'd go back and I'd hit them again. So, an area like that, I'm probably in it 4 times a year. But
So
I'm
does
not
the A-hole
hitting
get the
them all.
postcard too?
No.
So you track that somehow.
If somebody's like, hey, don't ever come back, or
Yeah.
I pull them off. And
His kids are really good at TPing houses, so he just sends them over there.
I guess that was my question. I mean, do you have a master list where you like take them out, or?
No, there are door knocking apps that I've downloaded, and it's too much work. I find myself inputting and checking off. I don't have a CRM. I know a lot of people think that's crazy. I have Excel spreadsheets, and that's how I keep track of everything. And we start at the top, go to the bottom, start at the bottom, go to the top, and check them off that way. But for me, it's just I try to do the CRM thing for about 2 days, and I'm just like, this is a full-time job for me to manage this. I don't have time to do this, and I just got frustrated. I'm like, nope, I'd rather go out and I'd rather go hit 25 doors and find a deal, get a check, and then,
Do it all over again.
That's all I want to do.
Not spend the check on a
I hate the technology. I really do.
So you do have a CRM, it's just called an Excel spreadsheet?
Right.
Hey, whatever we're gonna use, right?
That
Whatever
works.
we're gonna use.
Right.
Guys, what other questions do we have?
I wanted to say one more thing, Jeremy, because you were saying, what can you do to farm that doesn't cost a lot of money? I also started, and this is because I heard somebody else say it, like probably almost 10 years ago now, a Facebook group in my area called Norterra 85085, that's the zip code. And we've got like 5,500 people on there now. And it just runs itself. I mean, we do a market update, which is a video market update. So what I do is go to a different little neighborhood in the zip code and talk a little bit about the neighborhood, and then, give a little info. But
So that was literally one of my questions for you that I didn't get to, is what other
cost me
channels,
anything.
right? Like, what other channels, and that would be a major channel.
yeah, YouTube.
Right.
Also, we do a lot of talking about the neighborhoods in the area.
And I think, I'm not gonna take credit for the idea, but it's definitely something that we've talked about years back, and everybody in this room can do that. right? You can set a group for your community, for your area, for your kid's school, like whatever it is, it goes on and on, right? And again, obviously trying to be adding value into it, not just trying to extract and pull from that. So, guys, any other questions in the room? What do you guys, tell us some components that make up a quality agent or have led to your success to get to this point, have the tenure that you guys all have. Neil, start it up.
Fear. I think fear was probably the best motivator for me to keep me going and keep me going day in and day out, wanting to pay my bills and all that kind of stuff. So I think that, and at the same time, like I said before, love what you're doing while you're doing it. Love the journey. Okay, don't think about the paycheck and don't think about, oh wow, I did this open house today and nothing happened. That didn't work. I think I better try something else. No, just stick with it. The open houses will work, and if you guys employ all these other pillars, they're all intertwined. You know what I mean? You guys just see that now. But yeah, for me, the success was doing those, getting my confidence up, getting listings and buyers, and just having a lot of fun, and then sticking with it.
You mentioned something earlier about being emotionally mature and how to handle stress and anxiety.
Oh yeah, I did say something about that too, didn't I? Yeah, being emotionally mature is a very important thing because you can't take things personally. You know, if somebody lashes out at you, you have to be able to manage your stress and anxiety. It's something that's super important in this business because, first of all, we all have a lot of stress and anxiety anyways, right? And add 100% commission to that and all the other things that happen in our lives that come out of left field, it can throw you off track. So it's super important to be able to keep that mindset where you're even Steven. You know what I mean? Don't have the ups and downs when something hits you that's personal, and we all have that. Just concentrate on what you're doing and know that everything's going to be okay. It's going to turn out the way it's supposed to.
Right? Go to the dispensary.
That helps. Yeah.
Oh my. Okay.
Skin like a shark.
Shelly, what do you attribute
I mean,
your success in?
You obviously have to love what you're doing, but I think tenacity is probably one of the biggest things for me in my success, really, because, you know, I can't tell you how often I'll see somebody send, you know, like one postcard or something in my community, and I'm like, well, that was kind of a waste of time and money for them, because there's not any more follow-up, there's not anything after that, there's just, you know.
Yeah, they gave up, it didn't work.
They gave up, it didn't work, didn't get any calls, but
Right.
it's not going to work right away.
Before the gentlemen tell us their thoughts on that same question, how long does it take to get to, you think, to get success or get some sort of return from that? Essentially, how long, if we're starting a farm, how long are we preparing to lose for?
I would say at least 8 months, 9 months, close to a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's an investment, but then when it starts and when it clicks,
It was
we reach that
crazy
critical
when it
mass.
started. I was shocked.
Yeah. Even if you don't get to 60% and you just get to 58, you think we'll be okay.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Daniel.
A little bit of what they both said. One is consistency. Consistency is what has got me success. Is being consistent. Another book that I strongly recommend is The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. Is just do the small things every single day. Do the small things. Stay consistent. And then piggybacking on what Neil said, is his mindset is huge, especially like I'm gonna be transparent. Like I was like borderline depressed like 7-8 months ago. I was just down and out, and I couldn't understand a lot of things, and being negative and just being complaining and just being a sourpuss, and I was in that mindset for a long time. I was very spoiled with having early on success and carrying on that success for many years, and I got relaxed and I got complacent and I got entitled, and I was just complaining for a long time. And mindset is huge. It's like, hey, just stay consistent, stay positive, everything's gonna be okay. Like it's in God's hands. You can't be moaning and groping and expecting good things to happen, and so consistency and having a right mindset.
100%.
It's a tough market right now.
Yeah,
And
that's
anybody
what it's
that says otherwise is blowing smoke.
No doubt about it. Brian, how are you?
I got kind of a combination of what everybody else says. I mean, I'm driven by fear, but I'm also driven by wanting to win. I'm a go-getter. I want to go out there and I want to, I know I'm in charge of my success. If I sit around, I mean, real estate's one of the lowest paying easy jobs there is, but one of the highest paying hard jobs, right? If you go out there and you sit in open houses all the time, you make 30 calls a day, you pound however many doors, you're going to have success. It's a numbers game. The more people you connect with on a daily basis, the more money you're going to make. That's just the reality of it. So I would say last year was a really tough year for us too, and I was like, felt like my first year in the business, I was like, man, I'm pedaling fast on the wrong bike. But at the end of the day, you control what you control, right? It is in God's hands, and you just got to go out there and just stick to the game plan. Keep chipping away. Keep digging that well so it doesn't dry up. If you get to a point when you think like, whether it's short sales or you got all this stuff, you're like, oh, it's never going to end, that faucet's going to get turned off at some point. And I think in, May or June of 22, a lot of us saw that real quick.
Oh, yeah.
And one thing people are going to find out, I've been doing this 24 years now, it's always disruption.
Mm-hmm.
There is always disruption in this business. Joe Calloway will tell you that. Right about the time
He says,
you guys,
I am the disruptor.
right about the time you guys get things squared away, something will come up,
Yep.
like a lawsuit with the National Association of
Yep.
Realtors. Right?
What's that?
Who
We
saw
know what
that
you're talking
coming?
about.
We
Right.
almost got through
So
the-
just stay on track. Stay on track with the pillars.
Yeah, very good.
Speaking of Joe Calloway, if Joe Calloway was teaching, I would come to that class, so keep me.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Hey, Joe, what about that? In all seriousness.
Yeah.
Well, wonderful panel. Brian, I love doors. Daniel, clients are everything. Shelley, I've spent a lot of money on
I know you have.
And Neil, I've done open house every weekend for 25 years, so I believe in it. If you really want to compound this, you pick your open house and you go do the doors up and down the street before the open house, and then when you're at the open house, you call some clients. They have a call list for those times when there's nobody in the house.
100%.
Now you're doing all of it, and this is a wonderful business. You can get up one morning with nothing.
Nothing.
Have something in escrow that night. Where else can you do that?
Nowhere.
No. And I came from a retail background. Used to have a store with a landlord and inventory. You had to pay for the inventory. Now you can go to an open house, that's your store, and you get your inventory, it's the MLS. What a deal.
Right, and it doesn't cost you, all it costs you is time.
That's it.
And then you meet a bunch of cool people.
Yeah.
It's true.
Love this business, love the panel, thank you so much.
But
Thank
don't
you.
make him do
Sure.
one because all have to go with him, and I've already heard it all.
This is my daughter, Kelly.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
How much, and thank you for being here, it's awesome that you're here.
Yeah.
How much did name recognition attribute to your success? Because when I'm doing open houses, I do a lot of them, there's always a Callaway open house somewhere close by or...
You did one Sunday, I drove by. I was gonna stop in, but I didn't have time, but
Thanks, you're supposed to bring food. Well,
Right.
the problem with name recognition is when you've been in the business long enough, I went to, they had one of these at the school, and so I went for recruiting. I'm sitting there, and these new students at the Arizona School of Business Group, and they say, "Who?"
Oh, no.
Yeah. What a day of humility, So, but I do have a large database, and I go out to them every week with an email, and this is a business where you can build something, and then it can pay you back over the years. Absolutely. I mean, those yellow open house signs, Callaway's, you see them everywhere.
Yeah, you guys are an icon, man.
And if I can say something else about those, your signs, I see so many realtors get signs, people are driving by at 30 miles an hour, you can't read writing on there, like open 12 to 4. You
But you
guys,
can
the
see
signs
color.
are so recognizable, it's like, yeah, I learned a lot from,
Well, that comes from retail, you know.
They're simple.
I emulated your signs when I made mine.
Yeah, don't
Like,
put so much information
No,
on it,
it's
they
just
can't
simple.
read it.
I speak for the whole room, so, you know, hopefully one day you can reach a level of success that you can. Maybe one day you can be on a bank. Guys, thank you to you all very much for taking the time to do this.
I have information on that open house app if anybody wants it. I went up and printed a couple.
So if you guys don't mind, did everybody hopefully sign this? We have your info. Kelly can maybe compile what Neil was going to send out. Shoot, we never got to your man, we ran out of time. Daniel, Brian had a thing that he wanted to send, so maybe we could send that out too. I'm sorry, man, that we didn't get that. It was my fault. All right, good, guys. Thanks again. Appreciate it.
Good job.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Very